Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it is great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, we're really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So, our podcast is for people who either want to learn something new or make themselves a little bit better every day. And we're going to talk today about 5 habits of great salespeople. And we're going to give you one bonus tip that will help you become a better salesperson as well. So, if you're in sales, or you're interested in going into sales, this is a great episode for you because this is the core that you need to understand if you want to be successful in that role. And we will add that if you want to out earn your capabilities, if you want to earn more than your skills and abilities tell you that you should earn, get into sales. It is by far the most, I don't know if overcompensated is the right way to say it, but you can earn the highest compensation in relation to your skill level in a sales role without question. And that's across industries. Everybody needs people that can sell things. So if you can develop these skills, you can literally get a job in any industry because people need salespeople, plain and simple. So doesn't matter if you're running your own business, doesn't matter if you're managing a team, doesn't matter if you're selling a product or a service. The sales skills required to be a great salesperson are the same, and they're the lifeblood of the success of the business. The problem people have is they think sales is about persuasion or talking slick, sounding cool or smart. None of those are true. That is not at all what sales is about. The best salespeople are not pushy. They're disciplined, they're empathetic, and they're strategic. And in this episode, we're going to give you 5 habits that set great salespeople apart from the rest of the salespeople out there. We're also going to tell you what not to do, what to avoid to stop looking like a hack and to stop getting shown the door quickly. These are the habits that hold people back. And like we said, we got one bonus tip for you. So with all that said, let's jump into it. The first habit that successful salespeople have is they prepare like they're professional salespeople because they are. Great salespeople do their homework. Before they ever pick up the phone or walk into a meeting, they know who they're speaking with, they know what their client's business does, and they have an idea of what their likely pain points are. So that's pretty straightforward stuff, but that's homework. That's stuff you should do before you ever pick up the phone and call a potential customer. That's something you should have in your pocket before you walk in the door of the business. So let's look at an example. Mary Kay Ash, who is the founder of Mary Kay Cosmetics. She was legendary for training her sales reps to know everything about their clients, even down to their kids' names or their favorite hobbies. Why? That preparation shows respect. It shows trust. It develops relationships. And so if you prepare like that, without being slimy about it, without being stalkerish about it, you show that you care about that business and you care about that person enough that you've done your homework and you're prepared for the conversation. Compare that to someone who comes in and wings it. They hop on a Zoom call. They don't know anything about the client. They don't know the title. They ask surface level questions, and then they fumble through some generic sales deck or sales pitch that they've memorized in a training somewhere. Prospects, people can smell that a mile away. People can tell when you're not being genuine without fail. People can tell when you're slimy, and you don't want that reputation. So how do you do that? How do you prepare? What do you do? Before every call, write down 3 things that you know about the client and 2 questions you want to ask. Walk in prepared, walk out with results. It's really that simple. But if you think you can just wing it, if you think you can just show up and your natural charm and likability is going to get you sales, you're kidding yourself. You're absolutely kidding yourself. So tip number 1, prepare like you mean it. Be ready for the conversation. Know who you're talking to, know what they do, have an idea what their problems might be, so you're prepared to handle those questions when they come up. Okay, now, habit number 2. Good salespeople listen a lot more than they talk. So that's the secret. The best salespeople don't sell, they actually listen. So There's a guy named Brian Tracy who was a sales trainer back in the 70s and 80s. And he says, and we believe it, great sales reps follow the 80-20 rule, meaning they listen 80% of the time and talk about 20% of the time. They let the customer reveal their needs, their pain points, and their goals. That's your job, is to bring those things out in the conversation by asking questions and then letting your customer explain them to you. Unsuccessful salespeople jump right into a pitch, rattle off product features and stats, hoping to impress. The prospect tunes out because they don't think any of this is relevant. They don't care how good your product is. They want to know how your product is going to solve their problems. And the way to do that is to ask questions and then listen to the answers. Here's an example, a couple of examples of questions you can ask. What's the biggest challenge you're dealing with right now? Maybe the challenge that business is dealing with isn't a product or service you offer, but you know someone that does. And you can connect them to someone who can help them solve that particular challenge. Now you've added additional value to your relationship and you can be a go-to person for this group. Another question, what does success look like to you 6 months from now? What would be, if our interaction goes well and you use our product, what would success look like? How would you measure it? What would make you happy if after you purchased our product, you got that desired outcome? What would that desired outcome be? Then just shut up. Stop talking. Let the silence work. The more they share, the better position you're in to solve those problems, not just try to sell them. So good salespeople use that technique all the time. Remember the 80-20 rule. If you're talking a lot in a sales pitch, you're doing it wrong. You want to listen, understand what their challenges are, and then hopefully you've already anticipated what some of those challenges are and you've got solutions that you can talk to with them while you're talking about your product. All right. Tip number 3, habit number 3, they follow up religiously. Good salespeople follow up all the time. That's where the money is. The money is in the follow-up. You need to get used to hearing the word no a lot if you're in sales, right? There's an old saying that says you got to kiss a lot of frogs if you want to find the prince. That's exactly how sales works. You want to have good conversations. You want to develop good relationships, but it is rare for that first conversation or the first meeting to lead directly to a sale. Just not how it works. We're not big fans of Grant Cardone, but he's a hell of a salesman. And Grant Cardone says that 80% of the sales that happen after the 5th follow-up. So that means you're constantly reaching out and being told, no, not right now. We're budgeting. It's not a good time. Things are in flux, blah, blah, blah. That's always going to happen. You need to be prepared for that. But if you think about it, following up 5 times is going to set you apart from a lot of salespeople who talk to them once or twice and give up. Most salespeople quit. Not the good ones. The good ones are respectfully persistent. You don't want to be a psycho. You don't want to be a stalker. You don't want to be overbearing. You don't want to be pushy, but just pinging people and saying, hey, just following up, seeing if anything's changed, seeing how things are going, anything for us to talk about, any problems that I can solve for you. That follow-up is invaluable. Like we said, don't stalk them, don't spam them, don't pound them with emails. You got to check in. It's got to be value. It's got to have value. Send an article. Don't even try to sell them something. I read this article. It's in your industry. I thought of you. Here's some insights I picked up from somebody else. I thought this might be helpful for you. Maybe you already know all this stuff, but it couldn't hurt to look at it. Or a simple reminder. It's been 3 months since we talked. We said we'd check in, just following up. Not that hard to do. But you've got to stay on the top of your contact or your prospect's mind. You got to do that without being annoying. That's the job. So bad salespeople give up early. They assume silence is rejection. That is not rejection. It just means not right now. People are busy. Life gets in the way. Sometimes they can't spend money right now. Sometimes they've got to wait for budgeting. Sometimes that's real. But if you're consistent, it shows that you're serious and dependable. And when the time comes to make a decision, you're going to wind up much higher on that list. So how do we do that? What's the action to take here? You can build a simple follow-up rhythm. So day 1, you send a note. Great connecting today. Here's a quick summary. Boom. 3 days later, you share a relevant case study or a testimonial. Not even trying to sell. You're not revisiting the conversation. You're not pushing them. You're not being aggressive. Hey, here's something that made me think of you. Take a look. A week later, ask if they have any questions or if there's anything you can answer. And then 2 weeks later, maybe a 10-minute follow-up. Invite them and say, hey, can we just touch base real quick, see how things are going? Nothing wrong with that. If you can automate that, it's great. Like if you can automate it so that it goes out and you don't have to remember to do it, that's even better. But if you're going to automate, you've got to personalize it. You can't put a generic email that's just scheduled to go out to every prospect a week after you've talked to them. That's going to come across like a lead balloon. That's not going to be well received at all. But if you're able to automate and say, hey, Jim or Sally or whoever it was you met with, really enjoyed our conversation. Even if you auto-generate the email and then you can add an anecdote about your conversation. Hey, I enjoyed our conversation and hearing about your daughter's ballet recital or your son's cello recital or whatever the case may be. If you can do that, it's going to really set you apart from the competition because like we say, most salespeople, they quit, they give up. They don't make the sale, they move on to the next one and that prospect is dead. It'll come back through some CRM 6 months later and say, oh, you talked to this person and nothing ever happened. Then it's a cold call at that point because you've lost all momentum from your initial conversation. Okay. Habit number 4, good salespeople solve problems. They don't just pitch products. And I can't stress that enough. Sales is not about your product. Nobody cares. They legit don't care if you've got the best thing since sliced bread. What they care about is their problem and can your product or service solve it or make it better. Top performers, top salespeople sell like they're consultants. They don't push the features and benefits of their product itself, real issues in that business. So Salesforce is a good example. The best reps, the most successful reps at Salesforce don't start with, here's Salesforce and here's what it offers. They start with, what key metrics are you trying to improve? Then they tailor the solution specifically to that set of goals or problems. Mediocre sales reps whip out the playbook and run the playbook. Here's the deck, here's the pitch, here's the script, whatever it is, they do the same thing over and over and over again. And they usually get the same result over and over and over again, which is thanks, no thanks. Get out of my office. It is like a race to irrelevance, and that's not where you want to be. So what's the action step here? How do we do this? So when you're presenting, say, after you've asked these questions, right? We've talked to them and said, hey, what was our Salesforce question? What key metrics are you trying to improve? Okay, now you've heard that from the prospect. Now when you present, say, based on what you told me earlier about insert problem metric here, here's how we can help solve that. Now you're not pitching your product, you're solving their problem. It's an entirely different conversation. And that's what good salespeople do. I call it selling without selling. You've got to learn how to sell without actually selling. If you're pushing hard or you're making the pitch and it's obvious that that's what you're doing, you're not doing it right. Something's wrong. You've got to learn to build rapport. You've got to learn to understand their needs and their wants and then tailor your pitch and whatever your product or service does, how it solves those specific set of issues, because that's going to give you the best chance of success for that particular customer. All right. Okay. Habit number 5 is they keep learning and evolving. Great salespeople are always learning and they're always evolving. Great salespeople are students of the game. They listen to their own calls. They read sales books. They attend seminars. They get coaching every single week. You don't get lucky to become a good salesperson. You get better at sales by honing your craft. So Zig Ziglar was a motivational speaker and a salesperson back in the 60s and 70s. He's one of the all-time legends in sales training. He used to record himself and play his presentations constantly. He would tweak his tone. He would tweak his pace. He would tweak the clarity. He would tweak the wording. He would look for ways to improve how he presented things to people and then put those into action the next time he engaged with people. Unsuccessful sales reps hit a wall. They blame the product. They blame the market. They've got bad leads. They don't look at themselves and say, how could I change my approach to give me a better chance of success. Good salespeople are constantly learning and constantly trying to find better methods for sales. And in today's environment, it's so much easier than it ever was. I have listened to cassette tapes on negotiation, cassette tapes on sales, cassette tapes on leadership. I didn't have all the tools, and I'm not alone. Anyone my age, I'm 53. Anyone that was serious about getting better did those things. And if you want to do it now, look at everything that you have available to you. Listen to a podcast, for Christ's sakes. There's so many sales podcasts out there. You can read a chapter in a sales book. A lot of that can be found online. You can do it for free on like an Amazon Kindle or something like that. You can review your last call. You can record your calls and go back and listen to them again. Listen to what you said. Listen to how your customer responded. Listen to how you presented the questions. There's all sorts of things you can find if you do a little homework on yourself. And look for new techniques. Is there a different way to close your conversation? Is there a different way to ask for the sale that's less pushy, less obtrusive, but gets the point across? There's always opportunities to improve. So if you want to be good at sales, you've got to be constantly learning and tweaking and evolving. Sales is a craft. You've got to treat it like one. You're no different than an athlete practicing free throws if you're a basketball player, or covering first base if you're playing baseball and you're a pitcher, or working on your serve if you're a tennis player. You need to get better at sales. That's your job. You should take it serious and train yourself to get better at it. Okay, now we promised you one bonus tip outside of the 5 that we just listed. And here's our bonus tip. You've got to learn to build rapport with your prospect or customer without being fake about it. Don't be cheesy. Don't be schmarmy. Don't be any of those things. Be genuine, because authenticity wins, and it wins every time. Great salespeople know how to connect with their clients and customers on a human level. They don't force jokes. They don't pretend to care. They actually care. You can mention a shared interest. You can compliment them or something. Or you can tell a personal story, but it's got to be genuine. All of those things, whether it's a shared interest, a compliment, or a story, it's got to be genuine. You're not trying to manipulate them. You're trying to build trust and let them see who you are. Unsuccessful salespeople try too hard. They use fake enthusiasm. They use buzzwords like synergy or game changer or seamless and transparent. Those are my 2 favorite. If you want to know a project's going to have all sorts of problems, just have someone explain that it's going to be seamless and transparent, because those are like buzzwords for bullshit. They just are. People can tell when you're being someone else, and they can tell when you're being yourself. And whoever you are, it's fine. You don't have to be outgoing. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be humorous. If you're direct and straightforward, be direct and straightforward. But you can do that in a way that connects with the person you're trying to connect with. So how do we do that? What are some ways to do that? So if you go back to tip 1, which was be prepared, you'll know something about the client. What do they do at their job? What do they do in their off time? What's their family situation? Do you know if they're married? Do you know if they have children? If they have children, do you know what their hobbies are? You can ask those things. Or look at their LinkedIn profile. A lot of stuff's on their LinkedIn profile, or their Instagram, or their whatever, insert social media platform here. Hey, I saw on LinkedIn that you're a fan of X, whatever X is. Hockey, knitting, book reading, hiking, kiting. Doesn't matter what it is. I am too. Don't say that if you're not. Like I've played a lot of sports, and a lot of times when I'm dealing with men, sports is a good kind of bonding thing. And so I can talk a lot about sports, and I'm very comfortable in those conversations. I raised 3 kids, so I'm very familiar with lots of kids' activities, whether they're school activities, parent-teacher associations, kids' sports, kids' musicals. I had one son that was into drama, and he did all sorts of stuff around that. He took a dance class. I can talk about all those things because I got experience in those things. And those things are important. The people that are most important to them are the ones they care about. If you can get them to share some of those things about their family, it's going to build trust and rapport, and it's going to be genuine, and it's going to give you a connection and a leg up on other salespeople that don't take the time to actually ask those questions and have a meaningful, genuine conversation about those things. That's how you've got to do it. How did you get started in your industry? I love hearing those stories. That's a great way. People love to talk about themselves. I told my 3 sons, if you want to be successful with women, ask women questions about themselves and shut your mouth. By the way, same thing works with men. If you're a woman who want to be successful with men, ask men questions about themselves and shut your mouth. People love to talk about themselves. They love it. And if you genuinely listen, and one of the ways to prove that you're listening is to do what's called mirroring. So when someone says something, repeat the last 3 or 4 words of what they said back to them in a questioning tone. So, for example, someone says, hey, I really love the Colorado Rockies. And you say, the Colorado Rockies? They're going to say more about the Colorado, the baseball team. Oh, the baseball team. What do you love about them? Like if you mirror it back, they're going to want to keep talking. That's how that works. It'll work every single time. And at the end of the day, people buy stuff from people they like and they trust. They don't buy from robots. They don't buy from actors. They buy from human beings that they know and they trust. All the technology that's out there is great, but that sales process will stand the test of time. Human connection and human interaction will help. And if you can build genuine rapport, it's going to give you a huge leg up. So, all right. Those are our 5 tips plus our bonus tips. Let's just recap them again real quick. Prepare like a professional. Listen more than you talk. Follow up consistently. Solve problems. Don't just pitch products. And keep learning. Keep honing your craft. And our bonus tip, build genuine rapport with your customers, right? Develop relationships. You'll be able to leverage those relationships somewhere down the road. Plus, it's good to connect with human beings. Like you'll feel better. You'll enjoy your job more if you do it that way. Now, if you want to level up, if you want to grow your portfolio and get better at sales, just pick one habit from here. Just pick one of these and make that your goal this week. Sales isn't magic. It's a repeatable, learnable process. The question is, are you willing to do the work to get good at it? And like we said at the top of the program, if you want to be compensated at a higher level than your skills say that you should, sales is a great avenue in which to do that. There's plenty of people who aren't qualified to do lots of other things, but they make great living as salespeople. And that is a genuine skill that you can apply across many industries. So if you learn to be a good salesperson, it applies anywhere. And you can make a good living for yourself and provide for your family doing it. So that's it, guys. James usually puts it up here. He puts it up here every day. So don't forget to head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All the podcast episodes are there. Links to all our social media is there. We publish a newsletter every weekday. You can subscribe to there. And please, please, please like, comment, subscribe on whatever platform you consume our podcast on. Super helpful for us. We really appreciate the support. This episode will air on a Thursday. And so we hope your week has been going well. We're winding it down. Keep grinding, keep working, keep making yourself a little bit better every day. We appreciate you checking out the show, and we will see you on the next episode.